I may be new to AS, but I'm no stranger to back pain. I first saw a doctor for low back pain that would wake me up in the middle of the night back in 2013 when I was just 24 years old. They ran me through all the standard things. My MRI didn't show anything. I started PT. I saw some improvement, I thought, but then a year later, I was back at the same pain specialist with similar symptoms. I was again told nothing was wrong with me and I should do more PT and yoga, read a book about back pain. I did all of that and more. Not really being satisfied with the help I was receiving from medical doctors, I decided to start trying troubleshooting this pain on my own. I worked with massage therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. I tried adding new exercises to my regime, tried taking some out. Just when I would think I was improving or something was helping, I'd be struck by debilitating pain, particularly in the middle of the night. Now, I'm a methodical and logical thinker by nature and an engineer by training, so I thought maybe I could math and science my way to a solution to this pain. So I created this huge matrix with all sorts of different factors that I religiously tracked every morning and night. I monitored what type of exercise I did, if I drank any alcohol, how many hours of sleep I got, what side of my body I fell asleep on, which side I woke up on, if I'd had any interventions that day, what my stress level was, what my pain level was, and on and on and on. I recorded all this information for months, sure that I'd be able to compile the data and figure out what caused my pain and what helped. But much to my dismay, when I started parsing through the data, I couldn't find any clear patterns. It made no sense. I would go from being fine, hiking, skiing, traveling, to being in such extreme pain that I couldn't sleep for more than a couple of hours and could hardly move. I really hit a low in 2016 when I was on a work trip. It was something I had been looking forward to. I'd been given an opportunity to lead a team for the first time, and we'd been preparing for this field test for months. Before leaving, I had noticed that my pain was starting to increase, but I just pushed through, almost trying to will away the pain. Only compounding the problem was the fact that I had to take a 6-hour flight from Boston to Seattle. So by the time I got to the West Coast, things went downhill pretty quickly. I tried ignoring it. I took some leave because sometimes that helped, but the pain had gotten too far out of control. I made it through the first day of testing, but by that night, I was in tears, and the only position that was remotely comfortable was laying on my back on the hotel floor. Unfortunately, as it turned out, once I got down there, I couldn't get myself back up. So I had to get a hold of a coworker to come in and basically pick me up off the floor. Later that night, being unable to sleep, I ended up calling an Uber to take me to the emergency room at like 2 a.m. The doctors there, I wouldn't say were overly helpful, but they did manage to calm me down enough so that I could at least get a couple hours of sleep. But the next night was just as bad, and I went back to the ER. I just didn't know what else to do. Over the next 8 years, I continued to seek answers, knowing that something was wrong, even if the doctors weren't finding it. But it was hard to describe to doctors that at my best, I could trek to Everest Base Camp and climb Mount Kilimanjaro. But at my worst, I couldn't sleep in bed for more than 3 hours, and I couldn't even put my own hair up into a ponytail, couldn't get myself up off the floor. It was hard for my friends and family, not because they didn't believe my pain, but because they didn't know how to help me. And it was really hard because I never knew when my pain was going to show up. Now, I did see some doctors who found fixable problems. I've had both labrums in my hips repaired and both of my SI joints fused. And as unfun as all these surgeries have been, I had hope that getting them done would lead me to being pain-free. So this past spring, not 6 weeks after my second SI joint fusion and fourth surgery in as many years, I was beyond frustrated when my back started hurting again. How could this be possible? I fixed everything the doctors told me to fix. I followed the rehab protocols to a T. Where was this coming from? Desperate and couch-bound, I started Googling. And my search eventually led me to AS. I fit the description perfectly. And at that moment, I realized that what I had been experiencing over the last 12 years were called flares. It started to make a little bit of sense. Getting the official diagnosis sent me on a roller coaster of emotions. I was mad that it took 12 years and 10 plus doctors before I got any real answers. I was sad to be diagnosed with an incurable disease. But honestly, after a couple of weeks, I started to feel some relief also. It felt good knowing that it wasn't all in my head. I do have something wrong. And while AS isn't curable or even predictable, there is comfort for me in knowing what I'm dealing with. I know I'll have more flares, more pain to deal with, but I can approach it a little differently now. I can give myself some grace when things get bad, not try to will it away or ignore it or push through it. And I can explain it to those around me and offer them better ways to help. I've started on a biologic as well, and I'm hopeful that that brings relief. But overall, I now know that this is just something I'll have to manage for the rest of my life. And I'm not particularly excited about that, but I do at least feel more prepared than I did during those 12 years with no answers. And I'm more thankful than ever to have such a strong support system of family and friends around me to help.